Right, okay, students, let's start the session. The topic is ethics and acceptance. There are two topics that we're going to discuss today. It's in your Kaplan study text or study hub, both tested together like ethics and acceptance. The standard provided guidelines for this acceptance consideration is ISA 210. So technically in our TRG session day one, we're going to handle entire ethics related questions. Okay, so if I takes ethics and acceptance, ethics is application area where you need to apply your judgments to find out the answers. But if you take like acceptance, it's a theoretical area where you need to apply ISA 210. Right? So in your exams, I can split this into two. One is ethics, the other one is acceptance. So first, let's go for a short description about the theoretical areas what you studied, right? So under ethics and acceptance topic, I hope that you all studied these areas. First one, definition of ethics. First one, definition of ethics. What is ethics? That is very important. Right? Approaches to ethics. Approaches to ethics. So there are two types of approaches. One is rule-based approach. The other one is principle-based approach. Right? Third one is code of ethics. So code of ethics you might study, right? Code of ethics is the guideline that we should apply to ourselves, right? So if I ask from you all, what is ethics? What is ethics? The answers are different answers I will get, right? But for audit, you can't give the general answers. For audit, you can't give general answers. If you ask what is ethics, people can different people can explain the term ethics in different way. Someone might say moral principles. Someone might say it's a well-being or public interest. Likewise, different concepts they might use. But for ethics, audit perspective, you should understand. So I'll explain those things one by one. Then we can move to the questions, right? So code of ethics is simply integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality. All these principles is a rule book for us to evaluate ourselves whether we are ethical. So if I ask a question, whether you are an ethical person or not, how are you going to verify whether you are ethical? It's very simple. Apply code of ethics and see whether you are complying with integrity, whether you are complying with objectivity, whether you are complying with professional competence and due care, whether you are complying with professional behavior. So that you should apply to your life and see whether you are an ethical person or not. So code of ethics provide a criteria to check whether you are an ethical person or not. So after code of ethics, you might study threats. There are different type of threats that you might study, right? Like self-interest threat, self-review threat, familiarity threat, advocacy threat, right? Intimidation threat. These threats are very important. What is threats and code of ethics? Difference. Code of ethics helps you to identify whether you are an ethical person or not. Code of ethics helps you to identify whether you are an ethical person or not. But this particular threat, what is threat? When the person who you deal with, when the person that who you deal with is not ethical, that is what called threats. So threat means like, let's say you are an auditor, you are an ethical person, you apply code of ethics and see that you are an ethical person, right? But the finance manager that you deal with, he is not an ethical person. When someone is not ethical, that is what called threat. So what is threat? When someone is not ethical, that is a threat to you. That's why we ask everyone to be ethical. When everyone is ethical, no threats at all. But when someone is not complying with code of ethics, that becomes threat to another person. So threats come from the external environment when someone is not ethical. Code of ethics, it is from internal environment, like personal view, that whether you are an ethical person or not. After that, you might study safeguards. Safeguards are created by three components, I can say. One is profession, that is called ACCA. Two is International Ethical Standard Board. Three is person. As a person, you can apply controls, safeguards. After that, you might study a principle called confidentiality. So there are situations where confidential information can be disclosed that you might study. What are the situations? When it is required by law or when it is permitted by law to protect public interest. In these three situations, we can able to disclose confidential information. Then you might study a concept called conflict of interest. And also you might study a concept of conflict of interest procedures. What sort of procedures we need to perform to reduce the risk of conflict of interest. Right? So after that, you might study a concept called acceptance. Acceptance means at the time of accepting a new engagement, what sort of matters that we need to concentrate, right? So that is guidelines are provided by ISA 210 acceptance consideration, acceptance considerations. Under that, you might study different concepts or different matters to be considered. Fee, resources, management integrity, and also I can say reputation of the client, money laundering, all those things. But very important, precondition. There was a term called precondition. It is very, very important. If the precondition is not satisfied, you should not accept the engagement. That you might study. Okay. Then you might study a concept called professional clearance. Professional clearance. Professional clearance. Because professional clearance is also one fact that we all should concentrate before accept a new engagement. Right. So what is precondition and what is professional clearance is a bit technical. And I think that you already covered those things in your theoretical class. After that, we might study a concept called engagement letter, purpose of engagement letter, contents of engagement letter, contents of engagement letter, situations where an engagement letter, situations where an engagement letter get revised. Situations where an engagement letter get revised. So under ethics, above mentioned points you might discussed. Under acceptance, these points if you discussed. If I take these points, all these points are 100% theory. All these points are 100% theory. So if examiner want to test theoretical question, examiner will test theory questions from this. If I take this ethics, if you by heart all these definitions, still you won't able to pass because questions are differently tested. Like case study examples are very important. Especially here, studying threats and integrity, objectivity, what is integrity, what is objectivity, that is not expected. Here what you should study is case study examples. All case study examples from the past paper you should take and you should familiarize yourself with this case study examples. How to prepare for ethics area? Take all the case study examples and identify what type of issue it is. Then theory area, if examiner, there is a high chance examiner might test all these case study application part for section A. There's a high chance this case study part can be tested for section A. This is the topic called ethics and acceptance. This is the study topic called ethics and acceptance. Is this understood? Because I'm not going to teach things in detail here, right? Because we are directly moving to the questions. That's why I'm just giving a framework, whether you covered all these things or not. That would be easy for us to move on to the questions. Is it clear, students? Take a screenshot of this or quickly copy this. Take a screenshot or quickly copy this. Whatever the materials you use, no problem. You can use VPP material, you can use Kaplan material, you can use Study Hub material, but this is the scope. This is the scope. So all these things you should cover in all of your, whatever the materials, no problem. Even lecturers' materials, no problem, but this should be there. Quickly copy this. So now I'm going to explain how this particular components can be tested in the exams. In other words, simply I can say ethics chapter, how examiner can test this chapter in your paper. How this particular chapter can be tested in the paper, right? Because the TRG revision and class revision is two different things. In the class, we discussed all the questions, right? But while I'm teaching, how I teach is normally I'll teach paper-based. Right. I'll give the knowledge plus I structured into the paper base. Right. But if any students who join with any other lecturers, right, sometime they might discuss that particular syllabus related questions. But you don't have a scope or idea how this chapter can be tested in the final exam. Now I'm going to tell you how this particular chapter can be tested in the exams. Definitely one of those questions will be tested. Audit paper, it's very comfortable because we can predict questions. Questions are predetermined. Then why students fail? Why pass rate is very low? Simple, the stories are different. The stories are different. Case studies are different. Questions are predetermined. So guessing a question is not a difficult thing for audit paper. But analyzing that case study is most difficult thing. So you should use two skills to analyze the case study. One is professional skepticism, that is we call an attitude of questioning mind. Two is professional judgment, that is we can say auditor's exposure or experience used and guess or apply the judgment to find out reliable, sufficient and appropriate evidence. Why students fail? Because they are lacking judgment, that is obvious. They are lacking questioning mind, right? So those who are working, automatically these two skills will develop. Those who are not working, it's your duty to practice more question to develop your skepticism mindset. That is what expected. Okay. Now students, let's move to examinable questions. See, normally this particular question, ethics chapter can be tested for 10 to 15 marks. I'm not telling it is definitely tested for section A. High chance it can be tested for section A, objective test questions, or else it can be tested for section B also. So I identify, other than OTQ, I identified 3 questions from last 20 years past papers. For last 20 years past papers, if I analyze, I identified there are 3 types of questions possible from ethics. One is theory questions. If I take theory questions, it is code of ethics, it is threats, it is definition of ethics, what is ethics, factors to be considered before accepting new engagement, contents of engagement letter, and conflict of interest, how to reduce conflict of interest, which situation confidential information can disclose to third party. So these are the theory areas. So if examiner want to test theory questions, examiner can focus one of these areas. Right. Why I am telling like this? Because if you look at very old past papers like 2010, 2011, the papers what I did, right? So 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, all those papers more theory questions. Because there is no section A MCQs. All questions are theoretical questions like case studies and theories. So in that situation, they ask all these theory questions. But 2017 onwards, examiner radically changed the paper structure. They put section A and section B. The sad thing is even section A also case study, section B also case study. So now, according to my judgment, theory questions are very rare. 1 or 2 questions possible. That is also 4 marks maximum or 5 marks. So anyway, let's prepare for theories as well because that helps us a lot to score full marks. So these are the theory areas can be tested under ethics. Now let's come to the second question. Second and third questions are very important because I observed when some students, even some lecturers, when they teach audit in the ethics, they treat threats and risk as same. It is wrong. There are 2 verbs. When you are doing ethical questions, please underline the verb. Some verbs, it says ethical threats. Some verbs, it says ethical issues or ethical risk. Ethical threats and ethical issues are not same. Ethical threats and ethical risk is not same. Ethical threats, it's a separate meaning. Ethical issue, it's a separate meaning. Before we going to understand what is ethical threat and ethical risk, I should teach you what is ethics. So give me 1 minute, I'll teach you what is ethics. Give me 1 minute, I'll teach you what is ethics. Because if you know the definition of ethics, then only you can understand the difference between threats and risk. Okay. So far what I explained, understandable? Students, is it understandable? What I am teaching here, is it understandable? Am I fast? Sometime when I teach TRG, you might feel I'm doing very fast. Reason, like I'm trying to give everything within these 2 hours and try to cover everything within these 2 hours. So in case if you feel that I'm speaking in very faster or that I'm doing very quickly, right? Because I'm not teaching theory. Theory means I'll teach ethics for 12 hours. Right. For 3 sessions, I did 4 hours into 3 days, I teach ethics. But now I'm not teaching theory. So I'm trying to cover entire thing within these 2 hours plus questions. So sometime I might do very fast. Right. So in that case, if you feel I'm doing very fast, let me know. Okay, fine. Now, students, first I'll explain what is ethics. First time explain what is ethics. Concentrate. Ethics is simply, we can say ethics can be defined as, concentrate, ethics can be defined as what is right, what is wrong. What is right and what is wrong is ethics. Sometimes you might stop with that point. That is correct for other subjects, but audit, it is not correct because ethics can be defined as per the audit perspective, auditor's lens. Ethics can be defined as what is right or what is wrong. This particular right or wrong decision is always arise beyond legality. You won't understand this. I'll explain. The employee and professionals, 2 different concepts, right? Let's take an institute, a college, right? Let's take company A. It's an institute. In this institute, there are lecturers. Lecturers, strategic level. And also office assistant, operational level. So office assistant, what is right and what is wrong is already defined. What is right and what is wrong already defined. He can't take decisions according to his wish. So employees always fall within legality. That is very important. That's why all the professional qualifications teach ethics. Professionals are always beyond legality. Professionals are always beyond legality, but employees are. See here, professionals are always beyond legality, but employees are within legality. Let's take this arrow. It's a person. This person's behavior is within legality. Let's say he is a operational person, right? That's why their salaries are very low. Now let's take this person as a doctor, the blue color one. This person as a doctor. Doctor, part of his behavior, see, part of his behavior is within legality. Part of his behavior is beyond legality. I told you this is a doctor.
Yeah.
Yes.
How good, eh?
Class da.
Close ஆயிடுவேல. டிஃபின் எல்லாம் வாங்கி தின்றான்.
Yes, can you please mute your microphone? Make sure when you are studying, Lamai, students, I don't know how many of you are joined from Sri Lanka, how many of you are joined from India, because it's get live streaming, huh? Right? Some other countries students also seeing here, right? So behave yourself, it's very important. Okay, so it gets streamed on other colleges as well. Okay, so always keep that discipline. It's very important. When you are studying something, keep the discipline, right? You are attending the class, don't try to attend through the mobile phone because you don't know whether it is muted or unmuted. So that discipline is expected from my side. It's very important. Okay, always make sure, or else join through the laptop. Right? Always give the timing for study. It's very important. It's a basic discipline expected. Fine. Now, students, where I stop, like, sorry. And also, I have another problem, right? I'm not looking at any materials, right? So I get processed here and keep on talking. That flow is missed means again, from the beginning, I should reboost. It's not easy, right? So therefore, if I'm just teaching through the flow, through the exposure, right? So try to help me and keep quiet. If that's why always I'm telling, if you have any questions, type in the chat box because sound is disturbing me when I'm teaching. Okay, fine. Right, sorry. So that let's take this blue color one. Is a doctor, right? Part of his behavior is within legality. Part of his behavior is beyond legality. I'll give you a simple example. Professionals and employees. Employees always work within legality. Professionals, they part of their behavior within legality, part of their behavior is beyond legality. Let's take this doctor. Doctor, from his house, he is going to the hospital. So he is driving a car. While he is driving a car, he should follow road rules. He should have valid driving license. He should have put the seat belt. All these are right. He can't simply say, no, I won't wear seat belt. For me, it is wrong. You can't say like that. Why? Part of his behavior within legality, when something comes within legality, right is also defined, wrong is also defined. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Now this doctor reached the hospital and the doctor going to do a surgery in the operation theater. So when that patient is enter into the theater, that particular operational staff, they are taking a confirmation letter. Intentionally or unintentionally, something happened inside the theater, doctor and hospital is not liable. You take the risk and come inside. Now the patient and patient's guardians, they put the signature. We are taking patient inside. Inside the theater, we can't tell doctor what is right and what is wrong. Doctor have what? Independence to decide what is right and what is wrong. That's why I'm telling, inside the theater, doctor's behavior is beyond legality. Right? You can't simply say, first you cut this valve, second you cut this valve. You can't instruct a doctor like that. Because when the doctor is doing the surgery, doctor have 100% independence and his behavior is beyond legality. At that time only, doctor should think ethically. At that time only, doctor should think ethically. So while doctor is doing the surgery, doctor is getting a call from home, whether to answer that call or whether to complete the surgery. What is right? Doctor should decide. What is right? Right is public interest is right. What is wrong? Wrong is self-interest is wrong. If he answered the call, it is wrong. Why? It is self-interest. If he do the surgery and finish that surgery successfully, that is protecting someone's life, that is public interest, that is right. So always the ethical decisions as professionals we need to take when our behavior moves beyond legality. When our behaviors move beyond legality. That's why always I keep ethics and religion in both in the same way. Why? When the religion and ethics both are same, right? What is religion says, right? When no one is there, you should be right. That is religion. Because God is exists. That is our belief. That is what ethics. When rule is absent, you should be right. That is ethics. When rule is absent, you should be right. That is ethics. When no one is there to monitor you, at that time, you should apply your personal control. That is what religion. So we can simply keep ethics and religion in same place. Both are teaching same thing. So a religious person, a spiritual person, an educated person, a qualified person should be ethical person. That's why ACCA, CIMA, all these qualifications teach ethics. Why? One day you're going to move beyond legality. At that point, you should think what is right and what is wrong. All the politicians are beyond legality, but they should think what is right and what is wrong. Consultants are beyond legality. They should think what is right and what is wrong. That's why if you go to a consultant, that consultant is writing a prescription, right? So expensive medicines and substitutes also available. Knowingly, okay, the substitute is 5 rupee and the doctor is writing a prescription that is 50 rupee one particular tablet. Is it ethical? Why he is writing 50 rupees? Because of commission. In that case, it is wrong, self-interest. So ethics is a broader concept. What is ethics? You have to decide what is right, what is wrong, not within legality, beyond legal. You should be a right person. When everyone is there, always we are trying to be a right person. When no one is there, we need to be a right person. That is what religious practices teach. All the religion teaching the same thing. Simple ethics only. Is it clear, students? Now you all understood what I said, what is mean by ethics. Is it clear? I all understood the concept of ethics, the basics of ethics. So now concentrate. Now concentrate. Simply I'm telling a concept. Simply I'm telling a concept. When someone is following rules, we can expect when that person, absence of rules also can be ethical. But when someone is not following rules, we can't expect that fellow will take right decision beyond legality. Because right is right, wrong is wrong. At that time itself, he is not following. Can we expect that guy to be ethical? No. So try to understand when someone is not following rules, when someone is not following regulations, automatically we treat that person as unethical. Sri Lanka, India, drivers practically think. The drivers, while they are driving the car, when police officers are there in the road, speed limit is 60. When police officers are not there, speed limit is 120. So within legality, right. Beyond legality, wrong. We are not ethical. Police officers are there. Still, I am going 120. When they stop, I won't stop. Then when police officer is not there, automatically unethical. So try to understand the concepts. The concept is when someone is not following rules, automatically we take that person as unethical person. This knowledge is important because when people teach ethics, most of the time, or when you might studied ethics, you might studied ethics as just theoretical perspective. That won't help you to understand the key terms in the audit. Now, hope you all understood this. Now I'll come to audit related to ethics related to accounting perspective. Our legality students, IAS is International Accounting Standard. IFRS is International Financial Reporting Standard. Now, all these accountants, professionally qualified accountants, part of our behavior when we are preparing financial statement, part of our behavior is within legality because that is clearly defined in the standard. For example, IAS 38 intangible asset, research cost capitalized. Wrong. Everyone will say it is wrong only because it is clearly mentioned by the standard, research cost charged to P&L. Therefore, if you are an accountant, you can't say, I will charge research cost to balance sheet. You can't because it is clearly rejected by the standard. So that is wrong. Wrong is wrong. But certain areas is beyond legality, beyond IAS and IFRS. For example, NRV, net realizable value. How to decide net realizable value? Estimated selling price minus estimated selling cost. Standard give permission to management to estimate the selling price, to estimate the selling cost. So that is judgmental. You can manipulate financial statement at that point, because at that point standard give independence to you. So when standard gives such kind of an independence, when your behavior is beyond legality, you should think manipulating financial statement is right or wrong. It is wrong. Why? Self-interest. Maximizing profit is wrong. Self-interest. I won't do. So I'm an accountant. What is right? Reliability of financial reporting should be protected. That is what right. So that is the example related to what? Accountants. So students, one day you want to be accountant or CEO in your organization, you're going to handle the resources. Keep one thing in your mind, that is not your resources. Someone else's resources you are handling. You have an agency duty, fiduciary duty, accountability, transparency. It is very important. Try to protect that. Sometimes you might be a lecturer. Certain things are expected beyond legality. Certain things are expected beyond legality. For example, what is legality in lecturers? Let's say, okay, class starts at 8 o'clock, class finished at 12 o'clock, right? But you feel that students are weak, so it's your duty to extend that time. Students are very strong, then you can teach more comprehensively, right? So that is what we call ethics. Right or wrong decision is taken, even though your behavior is beyond legality. Even you take wrong decision, no one can able to capture that because you are beyond legality. But try to understand one thing, that is wrong. That is not correct. That is not correct. That's what happened to Enro. That's what happened to India, Satyam. That's what happened to Interest Finance, Sri Lanka. That's what happened to Golden Key. Wrong is wrong. Right. Recently, one minister in Sri Lanka, right, health minister, right, former health minister arrested. Is it right? What he did is right. It is wrong. It is unethical. Because his position may be beyond legality, authoritative, but what he did is wrong. Why? Self-interest. So every professionals, we have a duty, that duty of care. That's why professional competency and due care. When you become competency, that is not enough, because competency create intellectual evils. Competency create what? Intellectual evils. But due care create proper intellectuals. So intellectuals need to be ethical. When intellectuals are unethical, it's a disaster. Central bank, former Sri Lankan central bank governor, right? Central bank bond scam, intellectual evils. So when people are competent, don't forget, competent plus there is a concept called due care. What is due care? Duty of care. You are a competent person, you have a duty of care that you studied in the law, thought of negligence, duty of care, neighbor principle. That is very important. Right? When you negligent, it is out. Not only one or two people get affected. There's a huge stakeholders get affected because of that. Is this example understood? Students, is this example understood? Because I should teach ethics clearly, then only I can explain the concepts, right? Now with this particular knowledge, let's move. Let's move to examinable questions. With this understanding, let's move to examinable question. Identify ethical threats, provide safeguards. Suppose if you get ethical threats, the verb ethical threats in your exam, that include, concentrate, that include threats from external environment only, which means someone that you are dealing with is not ethical. You are an accountant, auditor, your finance manager is not ethical. It's a threat. You are a senior manager in the auditor, your partner is not ethical. Threat. You are a manager, senior manager in the audit firm, CEO is not ethical. Threat. So threat means it is not your fault. We always assume auditor is ethical person. With that assumption, others are not ethical. That's what called threat. So when the verb is threat, you will get self-interest issues, you will get self-review issues, you will get advocacy issues, you will get familiarity issues, you will get intimidation issues. All these threats are tested. So the verb is threat means only these type of issues are given in the case study. All these issues are given in the case study. I feel most of the students really comfortable with the verb called threat. Really comfortable with the word called what? Threat. Threats understood? The verb threats understood? How to tackle the verb threats? Right, only the threats. Self-interest, self-review, advocacy, familiarity, intimidation. So your case study will get these things only. Your case studies will get these things only. Suppose in your exam, examiner asks you to identify ethical issues or ethical risk. Examiner asks you to identify what? Ethical issues or ethical risk that is more broader than threat. Right. So if I take this is ethical risk, this is what? Ethical threat. This is we call threat. This is we call issues. So issues are broader than threats. Threats always a part of what? Issues. Now let's discuss what is mean by the term, the verb called ethical risk. What is mean by the term, the verb called ethical issues? The verbs ethical issue include threats. All these threats can be tested. Non-compliance with Companies Act. What is Companies Act? You might study chapter number 2 according to Kaplan study text, rules and regulation. So Companies Act is the rule. Rights of the auditor, duties of the auditor, appointment of the auditor, removal of the auditor, resignation of the auditor, who can appoint auditor, who cannot appoint auditor, which entity need auditor, and also rights of auditor, duties of auditor. All these things comes under Companies Act. So if there is any non-compliance with Companies Act, that is also ethical issue. That's why I told, if someone is not following rules, unethical. Right? And also non-compliance with ACCA. Sometimes auditor may not comply with ACCA. Here the verb is threat means auditor is an ethical person. That is the assumption. If the verb is risk means auditor also sometimes may not be ethical. That is what called non-compliance with ACCA. When you are not complying with standard ACCA, you didn't follow legality. You did wrong. That's why I'm telling rules and regulation. Legality means what? Rules and regulation. If you are not comply with rules, unethical. Illegal and unethical. Non-compliance with regulation, ACCA, illegal and unethical. Illegal and simple unethical. But sometimes you have a doubt, sir, do we need to by heart all the ACCAs? Because in the case study, if examiner mentions certain standards, we don't know, no, sir, how to identify the scenario, whether that person is complying with ACCA or not. I'll tell you very simple thing. All of your case studies, the problems related to non-compliance is simply ACCA 210 only. ACCA 210 only. Therefore, ethics chapter, what standard we studied? We are studied ACCA 210. So ACCA 210 related problems only given in the case study. For example, I'll tell you, auditor fails to update engagement letter. This question came from 2013 June past paper question, right? In that case study, if you take, if it's possible, practice this past paper. It's very important. That past paper is ethical issue. June 2013 past paper, right? So again, June 2016 or 17 past paper also ethical issue. So practice one question from ethical issue, you will realize why. Only 2 threats are given. Only 2 threats in June 2013. All others are non-compliance. All others are non-compliance. Students are struggling because the verb is issue. They are searching threats because they don't know the concept of issue or risk include non-compliance with standards. So ACCA 210 clearly said every audit we should issue engagement letter. If engagement letter is not issued means it's unethical, non-compliance, unethical. You should take that as an ethical issue. Students understood how it's tested. So this, if you comfortable with these 3 questions, confirm you can score 15 marks. But the problem is you should have a clear idea about the case studies. Students, what I explained, understood? Understood, yes or no? Don't worry, I'll give time to copy. First tell whether all these question formats are understood or not. I'm trying to explain the cases. So one case is threat, another case is ethical issue. Is it clear? Most of the past papers are ethical threats. Few past papers, ethical risk. Few past papers, ethical risk. Copy this. Copy this. Don't worry. Sir, can you explain the issue with more examples? Don't worry, I'll do questions. I know that you need some questions to learn ethical issues. I'll explain, don't worry. 1 minute. 1 minute, students. One minute. I just check what question I gave. See, the verb is ethical threats. Right? But let's take June 2013 past paper. 1 minute. Students, give me 1 minute. I'll show you that question verbs also. I'll show you that question verbs. 1 minute. Right. See, the verb is ethical threat. Salt and pepper. The verb is what? Ethical risk. The verb is ethical risk. So normally in my question, I gave both. Ethical risk, one question I include. Ethical threats, one question I include. So you should understand this first. You should understand this question. Right? Fine. Okay. So first I explained how it can be tested. How it can be tested. So just copy this, then I'll move to the questions. Then I'll move to the question. Do you want me to do ethical risk question or ethical threats question? Do you want me to do ethical risk question past paper or ethical threat question? Fine. Let's do both. Okay. Okay. Quickly copy this. When you are preparing for exam, you should do this. You should focus on these things. There's a high chance for threat, but there is a chance for risk also. It does not mean that risk will not be tested, threat only tested. No. Fine. Now let's directly move to the past paper. Hope you all copied. Copied? Students copied? Quickly copy. Sorry. Right. Okay. So now directly I'll move to ethical risk question first. Directly I'll move to ethical risk question first. Right. So if you want to find out this question, go to Google, type salt and pepper audit and assurance question. You will get this question. Okay. Go to Google and just type salt and pepper audit and assurance question. You will get this question. Because this question I didn't include in my TRG. Tute. Right. Now, Lamai, let's start. Salt and Pepper Company is a firm of chartered certified accountants which has seen its revenue decline steadily over the past years. The firm is looking to increase its revenue and client base, and so has developed a new advertising strategy where it has guaranteed its audit will minimize disruption. Guaranteed audit will minimize disruption to companies and they will not long last 2 weeks. They are giving a first point, they are guaranteed that audit will minimize disruption. Did we study something called rules and regulations, students? Under rules and regulation, what is the objective? What is the duty of the auditor? That's why I told, if the verb is, first look at the verb. The verb is ethical risk. Therefore, threats will be included. Non-compliance with standard included. Non-compliance with Companies Act is also included. Non-compliance with Companies Act also included. The objective of the audit is providing what? The objective of the audit is what? Providing reasonable assurance, opinion. To provide reasonable assurance, reasonable assurance is positive form of opinion. So you should perform detailed work in order to provide that opinion. And when you are providing opinion, the audit risk should reduce to acceptable level. When you say like, I guaranteed that only within 2 weeks I finish the audit, I will not interrupt much, then you are not complying with that legality. You are not complying with that legality. You are violating your duty. You are violating your duty. Can doctor say like this, I am not going to inspect you much, but I'll give medicine. He is violating his duty. So it is an ethical issue. It is an ethical issue. Understood? Students, what I'm telling, understood. So when you read this point, you should understand, it's a past paper question, no? It's a past paper question. You should understand there is a serious violation of legality. Is it clear? Violation of auditor's duty. Understood? So how to write this answer? Ethical risk. First of all, I'll tell you the answer pattern. First take the issue. 1 minute, students. Sorry. So students, how to write answer? If it is ethical risk, how to write answer? Make it simple. First take the issue. What is the issue here? The firm guaranteed its audit will minimize the disruption to companies as they will not last longer than 2 weeks. Copy as it is. First explain the issue. The second thing is what? As per auditor's duty, auditor should perform and detailed procedures and provide reasonable assurance whether financial statement provide true and fair view or not. Non-comply with duty is an ethical risk. Non-compliance with the duty is an ethical risk. You can't say self-interest, self-review here because it is not a threat. Non-compliance with a legality. You should mention that. What is the safeguard? Safeguard is what? See the verb. Ethical risk and safeguards. What is the safeguard? Complying with the legality is the safeguard. You should perform audit with detailed test to provide reasonable assurance. You should provide detailed test to provide reasonable assurance. That is the answer. Is my answer understood? Students, is my explanation understood? Now let's read this, continue this. In addition, Salt and Pepper has offered all new audit clients free accounts preparation. Free accounts preparation for the first year of the engagement. Right? See here they didn't give this company is listed company or non-listed company. The client is listed or non-listed, we don't know. But if the client, that is also important, no? You can't simply say it is prohibited. Right? Self-review threat, preparation of free accounts and auditing will create self-review. It is allowed for non-listed company, but you should use separate teams. It is not allowed for listed company. Whether this company is listed or non-listed, they didn't mention. Therefore, you should explain both clearly. If the company is listed, it is prohibited. If the company is non-listed, can do with what? Different teams. That is the safeguard. And it creates what? Self-review threat. Is that clear? So first one is non-compliance. Second one is self-review threat. Is both examples understood? Students, both examples understood? Please reply. Right. Now concentrate. I'll move to the third one. As it is believed that the time spent on the audit will be reduced if the firm produce financial statements. That is wrong. The firm is seeking to reduce audit cost, has therefore decided not to update engagement letters for existing clients. ISA 210 standard acceptance consideration clearly said every audit should start with engagement letters. Even if you are redoing the same client, you should update engagement letter. Not updating engagement letter, non-compliance with ISA 210. That's why I told most of the non-compliances comes under ISA 210 only, because that is the only standard tested along with what? Ethics. So not to update engagement letter, non-compliance with ISA 210. If you can't remember the standard, not to update engagement letter is wrong. So simply you can say, first explain the issue. Auditor decided not to update engagement letter to existing clients. Right. According to the standard, every audit, a new engagement letter should be issued. This is non-compliance with the standard. That is enough. It's an ethical risk. What is a safeguard? As per the standard, if you know, mention ISA 210. If you can't remember, just mention as per the standard. Auditor should update engagement letter every time for existing clients also. Is it clear, students? Is this example? Again, it is legality. Again, it is legality. Understood? So first one is legality. Second one is self-review threat. Third one is also non-compliance with legality. Non-compliance with ISA 210. Next one. Next one. One of Salt Pepper existing clients has proposed this year, audit fee should be based on the percentage of that final profit tax. So audit fee is based on a percentage of profit. This is we call contingency fee. When audit fee is based on a financial statement element, that is we call what fee? Contingency fee. Contingency fee is prohibited for audit and non-audit assurance, non-assurance services. entire audit and non-audit, assurance, non-assurance, for entire services, this particular contingency fee arrangement is prohibited. That is self-interest threat. If you do that, it is self-interest. If you do that, it is what? Self-interest threat. What is a safeguard? International Ethical Standard Board prohibited. That is a safeguard. Students understood this? So first issue is what? Non-compliance. Second issue is what? Self-review. Third issue is what? Non-compliance. Fourth issue is what? Self-interest threat. So we identified 4 problems so far. 2 is threat, 2 is non-compliance. Up to now, comfortable? Understood? Students, up to now understood. Am I confusing you all? Yes? Understood? Everything is fine? If you have questions, you can type, huh? Right, because now we are at the last point. Right, now we are at the last point. So if you have questions, you should type. So, but sir, safeguard explain in one sentence enough for exam. Don't think about quantity in audit paper. Think about the quality of your answer. Very important. Even one word is enough, but it should communicate fully. Right. Simply you can say, as per International Ethical Standard Board, it is prohibited. You can't do it. That is a safeguard. Salt and Pepper has recently obtained new audit client. See, new audit client. Now, definitely they're going to speak about ISA 210. Sir, I have a doubt. Fee dependency in both self-interest and... Okay, fine. Abdullah, I take your doubt. After completing this question, I'll explain fee dependency. Because fee dependency is a little big topic. Okay. Fee dependency is a little big topic, right? It's a concept. I'll explain the concept fully. Okay, after this question. Because otherwise you won't understand. I can't just take it as a one thread here. It is very big concept. Fee dependency, you can simply say depending on client fee. It's very big concept. I'll explain. New audit client, Cinnamon, whose year end is 31st December. Cinnamon require their audit to be completed end of February. What is the current date? What is the current date? When is the company's year end? December 31st. February, they need to complete the audit. However, this is a very busy time for audit firms. Obviously, year end is very busy for audit firm. So, intended to use more junior staff. ISA 210 standard clearly said, before accepting new client, you should concentrate on one fact, that is called resources. If you don't have sufficient resources, you should not do the audit. But here we don't have sufficient resources. And we try to use more junior staff and finish it off the audit. Non-compliance with standard. The factor, acceptance consideration factor is violated here. The resources, not sufficient. We are not complying with the standard. Standard saying sufficient resources need to be needed. Then only you can accept the audit. But without resources, you are accepting. Unethical, non-compliance. So you can say simply, Salt and Pepper intended to use more junior staff as per the standard. Accept and consideration include resources. When sufficient resources are not there, should not accept the audit. It is a non-compliance with legality. It's an ethical risk. What is a safeguard? Recruit more competent staff to complete this audit or extend the deadline further, not February. One of these things you should do. Otherwise, you can't take it. Additionally, concentrate. Additionally, in order to save time and cost, Salt and Pepper not contacted Cinnamon's previous auditor. As a concept, ISA 210 as a concept, professional clearance. What is professional clearance? Suppose someone is asking to accept their audit. You are the audit firm. Company A is requesting you to accept their audit. Now you check company A, who audited before? Someone else. You should contact that previous auditor and ask what is the reason they resigned or removed. Whether that reason is legitimate. That is what called professional clearance. Previous auditor professionally cleared or not. So how to perform that? You should talk to management and you should ask permission to contact outgoing auditor, previous auditor. If the permission is not given, you should not accept the audit. If the permission is given, you should talk to our previous auditor and you should ask what is the reason they resign or remove. If that reason is illegitimate, unethical reason, because of management unethical practice they leave, you should not accept the audit. Sometimes the previous auditor may not respond to you. In that case, you should follow up. Still, if you are not getting any update from the previous auditor, then you should talk to management and try to perform other procedures in order to find out the reason why they left. So that is what called professional clearance. But here what they did, they didn't perform professional clearance. That is also non-compliance with the legality. ISA 210 requests us to do the professional clearance. We fail to do that. It's an ethical risk. So what is the safeguard? As per the standard, we should contact outgoing auditor and perform professional clearance. That is a safeguard. So if you look at this case study, almost 7 problems discussed. How many problems discussed? 7 problems. How many they ask? Only 5. So always 100% problems are more than given. Given is ask 5 and they give given is 7. And all these non-compliances are related to ISA 210 only. Now you all understood the verb called ethical risk. Is it clear? Is it clear, students? Everyone, is it clear? If you have any questions, please ask. If you have any questions, please ask. Saravanan, understood? Rushda? Shimar? Sneha? Aziz? Fine. Since that student asked what is fee dependency, I'll explain the fee dependency in detail because it's very important concept you should understand. After that, I'll move to ethical threats. Give me 1 minute. Students, give me 2 minutes. After that, I'll continue. You can take a break. Give me 2 minutes. Huh? Okay. Now, students, let's start with fee dependency. Fee dependency, generally, we can define in different ways. But according to International Ethical Standard Board, they gave certain conditions to define fee dependency. Right. So people can say fee dependency is like auditor is depending on client. Right. That is a general wording. Right. But technically, what is fee dependency? That we should understand. So, International Ethical Standard Board, IESB, a subsidiary committee of International Federation of Accountants, they define fee dependency with certain conditions. Condition number 1 is 2 consecutive years. 2 consecutive years means 20, 21, 21, 22, 23, 24. Likewise, for 2 consecutive years. Fee from recurring service. You should take the fee not from all the services. Whatever the services are recurring. Recurring means repeatedly happening. Every year it happens. So fee from recurring service for 2 consecutive years exceed 15% of firm's total income. That should be exceed 15% of total firm's total income. Then only fee dependency threat will arise. This is for private companies, non-listed companies. Right? But for this is for listed companies. Non-listed companies for 5 consecutive years, not for 2, 5 consecutive years, more than 30% of firm's total income. So try to understand fee dependency conditions. First one, listed company, 2 consecutive years, recurring service, exceed 15% of firm's total income. Non-listed, 5 consecutive years, recurring service, more than 30%. Then only fee dependency. I'll give you an example. Company X is an audit client of BDO associate. So BDO is auditor, X is client. BDO's total income is 100. BDO's total income, how much? 100. The total income that audit firm is getting for that particular year, 100. And following services are provided by BDO to company X. What services? External audit. 2020, they charge 10. 2021, they charge 12. External audit is a recurring service. Recurring service means every year you do that. Tax work. 2020, 6 rupee. 2021, 8 rupee. That is also recurring service. Fraud investigation. That not in your syllabus. Fraud investigation assignment is not in your syllabus. Suppose if you pass this and if you choose advanced audit and assurance, I'll teach you there what is fraud and how to perform fraud investigation and what is forensic investigation and what is forensic accounting. Okay. So fraud investigation is 2020 we didn't perform. 2021 we perform and we charge 10. This is not recurring. Every year you can't do fraud investigation. Fraud investigation you do if there is a fraud. So fraud happened in 21, not in 20. So it's a non-recurring. Now I am going to take the total fee. Only the yellow colors I should take as a total fee. Green color I should not take because it is non-recurring. One condition is it should be recurring. So 10 plus 6 is 16. 12 plus 8 is 20. 100 total income. 16% representing in 20. 20% representing in 21. Both from only 2 consecutive years. Recurring service. Company is a listed company. Therefore, fee dependency threat is arise. Fee dependency threat is arise. Fee dependency is a self-interest threat. Fee dependency is a self-interest threat. Students, up to now understood? Up to now understood what is fee dependency? Again, the fee dependency part will be varied company to company, listed and non-listed. When this fee dependency arises, initially it creates self-interest. Subsequently, it creates intimidation. Why? Because you lock with that client. You do not want to lose that client. So that particular client can influence you. What is intimidation threat? Actual or perceived pressure. This is a kind of a perceived pressure. Right? Because you do not want to lose. So that person can influence you. Make it very simple. Right. So initially self-interest, subsequently what? Intimidation. Safeguards for listed company. Safeguard for listed company, inform charge with governance, perform engagement quality control review. Students, did you study something called engagement quality control review? You know what it is? Did you study what is engagement quality control review? Did you study something called engagement quality control review? Are you aware about it? What is engagement quality control review means? Simply see, a partner who is not in that engagement, a partner who is not performed that engagement, that partner should review engagement partner's work. Another partner should review engagement partner's work. Two conditions. One is that partner who is reviewing need to be an independent person, not connected to this partner. Two is that partner should be a competent person. He can able to handle an audit. That is we call engagement quality control review. So that is about fee dependency. That is about fee dependency. Fine. Students, now let's move to MCQ. Now let's move to the question. So can you explain contingency fee? Contingency fee means, students, predetermined basis you are working. Predetermined basis you are working. For example, let's take in Sri Lanka. When I do lectures, I work for 80-20%. Whatever students paid, I need 80%. So based on number of students, 80% goes to the lecturer. It is a contingency arrangement. Predetermined. Sorry, it's a predetermined arrangement. That is what called contingency fee. Auditor should not engage with contingency fee. Reason? Simply, audit fee is based on PBT. Audit fee is based on revenue. Audit fee is based on assets. All these are contingent arrangements. Audit fee is based on 10% of profit before tax. Auditor also to help management to boost profit. Because that arrangement is predetermined, related to financial state. Make it very simple at your level. I'm explaining at your levels like audit level, skill level. Contingency fee is audit fee should not correlated to financial statement elements. 5% of PBT, 1% of net assets, 2% of revenue. No, should not be like that. Is it clear? It is prohibited. All those arrangements are prohibited by international ethical standard. Is it clear? Is it clear? Did I answer to your question? Fine. Now, students, let's start questions. I'm not giving time to do these questions. I directly start and discuss these questions. First, we'll practice some section A type of questions. First, we'll practice some section A type of questions. So let's take the tute which I shared with you all. Let's take this tute. You are the audit manager of O&M company. One of the audit partner asks you to review the arrangement with some of the firm's long-standing audit client to make sure there is no ethical issues with the services being provided. See the verb, ethical issues with the services being provided. Okay. Okay, be frank. How many of you all learned ethical issue is different from ethical threat? I only know that point today. Earlier, I don't know. I assume that both are same. How many of you all realize ethical issue is different from ethical threat? How many of you all learned that today? Is there anyone that got to know that these two terms are different? Very important. Because otherwise, if you assume ethical issue is ethical threat, there is a lack of knowledge. There is a lack of knowledge, right? Very unfair when you do exams questions in the final paper, right? Because that's the thing when students are feel happy after the exams, but they fail, right? Because of misunderstandings. G company. G company is a listed company. Very important. Listed and unlisted is very important. Is one of the largest client. Last year, the fee of audit and other services, 2.1 million. This year fee is expected to be 2.3 million, which represent 15.5%, 16.1% of total income. 2 consecutive years exceeding 15%, audit and other services. Generally, we assume it's a recurring service. Otherwise, they should mention. So exceeding 15%. So what it is? It is a fee dependency. Fee dependency will create initially what? Self-interest threat. Subsequently what? Intimidation threat. So answer is, what are the threats? In relation to G, which of the following threats to independence? 1 is self-interest, 2 is intimidation. Is it correct? Understood, students? Understood? Is it clear? If you want, just mention that fee dependency is a perceived pressure. It's a perceived pressure. That's why intimidation threat. It's a perceived pressure. What is mean by simply perceived pressure? I'll give you an example. Let's say elder brother, younger sister. Another elder brother, younger sister. Right. One elder brother married the other elder brother's younger sister. This elder brother married the younger sister of the other, A and B. It's a perceived pressure. At one point, any problem arises, both families get it. That is what called perceived pressure. Right. Always that pressure was there. Right. So what I'm trying to tell you is that's how it is intimidation. Here also, you do not want to lose that client. That itself create what? An intimidation threat. That is we call a perceived pressure. Let's take the second story. O company is a large private company. Important. I mark that as a private company. Has been audit clients of O for many years. R is a partner of O, has acted as audit engagement partner for 7 years. This year requested O to provide tax advice, minimize company's tax liability, in addition to external audit. The directors have suggested that the fee could be based on the level of tax saving. Level of tax saving. If you, how much of amount, it is predetermined. If you save tax, based on that percentage, the fee determined. That is what contingency fee. Right? So there are two problems. One is partner is working for 7 years, long association, familiarity threat. Also self-interest threat. Right? And fee dependency, that is not fee dependency, contingency fee, tax saving. Two problems are discussed in this. Now let's take question. Which following actions would not be relevant? Or to maintain their objectivity. Assign an engagement quality control reviewer. Pre-issuance review. Students, pre-issuance review, another term is engagement quality control review. Use of separate teams to provide non-audit services. Disclosure to charge with governance, the fee from G is more than 15% of O's total fee income. This question is related to the first story, okay, which is not relevant. Here the problem is, when the company is listed, you should perform engagement quality control review. Inform charge with governance and perform engagement quality control review. That is a safeguard for fee dependency. A and B is correct. D also correct. You should disclose to charge with governance. Those charge with governance. C is wrong. Why? Separate teams you can't use here because it is like exceeding 15% safeguard is not using separate team. No. Answer is C. Answer is C. Try. Next one is, because this is fee dependency, A and B and D are relevant, C is irrelevant. C is irrelevant. In relation to R, audit engagement partner, which following correctly identify the threat, appropriate course of action. Right? Now concentrate. Now concentrate. The second situation, the company is not listed. The company is not listed. Company is not listed. So obviously the familiarity is there. right? Self-interest is also there. Long association will create familiarity, subsequently self-interest. Agreed. So answer A and B is correct. C and D is wrong. But the company is not listed now. If it is listed, the partner should rotate. But here, answer B is wrong. Partner must resign as auditor. Not resign. Partner should rotate. Terms are very important. Resigning means you should resign from the. It's not like that. Company is not listed. Therefore, answer, if it is a listed company, partner should remove. So here, familiarity threatened can continue with appropriate safeguard. Only for listed companies after 7 years, the partner should rotate. Here, the case study, company is non-listed. Therefore, he can continue. There is no separation between ownership and control. Try to understand external audit itself, not mandated. External audit itself, not mandatory. Therefore, he can continue with appropriate safeguards, no problem. So try to understand this answer is correct only because of the company is non-listed. If the company is listed, then what? Familiarity threat and the partner should rotate. He should rotate the partner. Cooling off period is different. Engagement partner, 5 years. Right? Key audit partner, 2 years. Engagement quality control reviewer, 3 years. Cooling off period. Is this an explanation understood? Question number 38. So try to identify the facts clearly. If they said listed, if they said non-listed, it is important because based on that only you reach to answer. Doing MCQ is not easy. Is it clear, students? 38? See the facts here, the story. Large private company. All the facts I marked. Partner worked for more than 7 years. He can continue because private companies audit is not mandatory. If it is a listed company, definitely this partner should rotate. Maximum period long association is 7 years. But this is a private company, no problem. But familiarity threat was there. Familiarity threat was there, but he can continue. No need to resign, no need to rotate. Is it clear, students? What I am telling understood. So blindly just don't by heart. 7 years must resign. Depends on the company. Whether it is listed or non-listed. When you are studying that, focus more on that. Is it clear, students? Now concentrate. Now concentrate. Doing case studies are not easier, right? You can't do case study like by hearting a theory and just applying as it is. No, there are facts. You should be smart enough to extract that fact and understand the logic, right? That's why most of the science and maths background students, they do audit very well because audit is a logical subject, right? Where more rationals are expected and you need to do a job of CID. You should take the facts and you should investigate, then you should come up with the truth. Which of the following statements true related to tax advice fee based on saving? Shall I tell you one thing? It is a contingency fee. The fee is acceptable, wrong. The fee is not acceptable. Any accountancy work. Try to understand, not any accountancy work. Any accountancy work include payroll work also. Any assurance work. Any assurance work. Accountancy work include payroll work. Maintaining bookkeeping, data entry, that you can work. Number of entries you made, based on that I will pay you fee. That you can do. Number of employees for payroll calculation I can pay. No problem. Assurance work you can't do. That's why it is wrong. B is wrong because they said what? Any accountancy work. But I said assurance work. The fee basis is acceptable. It is wrong. It is not acceptable. The fee basis is not acceptable. The fee is significant to the firm. It is not acceptable. Because contingency fee, by nature, it is significant. That's why it is prohibited. Don't look at the amount. Even 1 rupee, it is significant. because by nature, it is not acceptable, prohibited by International Ethical Standard Board for assurance services. Is it clear, students? Question number 39. Understood? Is it clear? Any questions? See here, sir, little bit. See, I'll tell you, contingency fee is prohibited. Is it clear? Contingency fee is prohibited. Is it clear? Contingency fee arrangement is prohibited. Reason, it is always significant. But we are not looking at the amount. It is significant. Contingency fee is not allowed for assurance services. What are the assurance services? It can be internal audit. It can be external audit. It can be like the services like forensic audit, prospective financial information, due diligence, or review engagement. All these are assurance services. For all these assurance services, it is prohibited. But here they use the word accountancy work. Accountancy work means everything. For example, payroll, we outsource payroll work, right, to some other third-party organization. For them, you can agree contingency fee, no problem. But you can't do that for assurance work. Assurance work. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The verb here they mentioned is any accountancy work. That's why answer B is wrong. Is it clear? Student, is it clear? Animation understood now. Students, 1 minute. John, you can take it from Christopher. It was there in the group. Sorry. Now let's move to the question. Question number 40. In relation to audit of P, select the type of threat. Now for that, let's start to read that particular part. Let's start to read that particular part. O company is an external auditor. Okay, before moving to that, right? Students, now tell me, doing MCQ is easy or difficult? Section A. What do you feel? Doing an MCQ is easy or difficult? Very difficult. Trust me, it is very difficult. Very much complicated. Doing section A is not easy. In audit paper, doing section A is not easy. You should be an expert to digest that case study. Take my word. Right. If you score out of like 30 marks, out of 20, if you score, obviously you can pass. So practice more MCQs. Obviously, after my explanation, you can understand. Yes or no? You got my point? I'll finish the section A because only threats we have balance that I can do because I feel you all comfortable with that. Okay. After my explanation understood. After my explanation, can you able to understand that problem? What I'm trying to tell you is if you want to pass, practice more MCQs, right? It is very important. So when you are doing exam questions, decide whether you are going to do section A first or section B based on your comfort zone. Okay. Now let's move to this case. O company is an external auditor of P and also provide non-audit services to the company. The audit team comprises engagement partner, recently appointed manager, audit senior, number of audit assistants. The previous audit manager left the firm. Previous audit manager left the firm before completion of the audit. Now work as a finance director. Now just take this story. From audit firm, someone is moving to what? Client place. And that is the person going to be work as a head of accounting. Right? There is what threat? That person have familiarity threat. Because, and also, let's take that particular case here. Self-review was want there because if someone come from client to audit firm, self-review. He is not reviewing his own work, no. Because from audit firm, someone is going to client. Still, he can have some friends in the audit firm, the same audit team. So that create what threat? Familiarity threat. Simply, what is the safeguard? What is the safeguard? Firm should resign from the engagement. That is wrong. Different audit manager should be appointed. The finance director must not have contact audit manager. You can't do the audit. Correct answer is familiarity and answer is B. So it's very simple, straightforward. That is straightforward. Okay. Before moving to the next one, right? That is not related to audit. This is related to risk, right? This is related to risk, not related to ethics. Okay. So just try this. I'm not going to discuss this 40 to 45, right? That is related to what? Risk. I'm going to take section B question. I'm going to take section B question. See, in this section B question, the verb is what? Ethical threats. The verb is what? Ethical threats. I'll give you 5 minutes time. Read this case study. Type just threats only. For example, let's say contingency B, self-interest threat. Prohibited. Likewise, just type. I want to see how much you can able to guess because threats are easy. Difficult portion is risk. That I discussed. Difficult portion is section A. That also I discussed. Take this case study and try to identify at least 4 ethical threats. 5 minutes I'll give. No need to write everything. Just mark it. Do it. Then I'll discuss. Students are like, fine. Try to identify at least four. If the verb is threat, nothing to worry, because like almost most of the case studies are there, right? A lot of questions are there. You can practice. It's easy. Ethical risk, you should be little technical, like standards also tested. Try to do it. Try to do it. Others, at least try to type 3. At least try to type 3. Right. Okay, let's start. L company is undergone a period of substantial growth following its establishment 5 years ago by 2 plumbers using their redundancy pay. Because of lack of accounting expertise within the company, it has traditionally looked to its auditors, TH, for accounting services in the preparation of annual financial statements as well as audit function. Even though the company is not listed, still we do what? Audit, because there are a lot of benefits comes from the audit. So that is create self-review threat. I hope you all identified that. Okay, separate team to be used. If it is listed, prohibited. I hope that you all covered that point. As the fee has grown significantly over the last 5 years, company has recently asked audit firm whether going forward it would be possible to calculate audit fee as a percentage of profit. As a percentage of profit, it will create contingency fee arrangement, self-interest rate, prohibited by international ethical standard. TH company is a small firm, certified accountants, registered auditors whose clients are mainly small businesses, right? Although L was originally typical small company client, its growth over the last 5 years meant that now accounts for approximately 20% of TH companies' fee income. Company has indicated, company has indicated it may wish to issue shares, stock exchange in the near future. So they're planning to get listed. Audit fee is approximately 20% total fee. There is a possible fee dependency because exceeding 15% recurring income for 2 consecutive years, obviously fee dependency. Here see, last 5 years has mean now accounts approximately 20%. So therefore, once it gets listed, obviously there is a fee dependency. At the moment, no fee dependency. At the moment, no fee dependency. At the moment, no fee dependency. Reason? I told you, fee dependency in unlisted company, 5 consecutive years and exceed 30%. But if it is listed in the stock exchange, there is a possibility in future there is a fee dependency. So at the moment, there is no fee dependency. So you can say there is a possibility of fee dependency if this gets listed. Try to understand answers and concepts clearly. TH company keen to expand their client base have recently launched advertising campaign in which they guarantee maximize efficiency of the audit, only allocate staff the audit who have experience in the relevant business sector. As a result, Western company, a major competitor, have asked Ticket and Company, TH audit firm, to replace their existing auditors immediately. Competitor is asking to replace. That is, we call what? That is, we call what? Sir, what is the safeguard fee dependency in a listed company? Okay, fee dependency listed company informed to charge with governance, perform engagement, quality control review. Non-listed company, you can increase the client base or reduce the dependency. Concentrate. How many of you all identified a threat from this paragraph? How many of you all identified a threat from this paragraph? Anyone? Threat to objectivity. Confidentiality. No. No. Anyone else? I'll share this answer scheme with you all after the session. Students, when you studied something, please try to understand things clearly. Right. One is breach of confidentiality, and also there is a problem. What is that problem? That is, we can say, no, that is simply we can say conflict of interest. Accepting competing client is what? Accepting competing client is what? A major competitor asks us to accept. So there is a conflict of interest. How many of you all pick this point? Students understood, right? What is conflict of interest? accepting competing clients. Is it clear, students? Did you all study something called conflict of interest? So is there, if anything is privately mentioned, good. See, if anything is not mentioned, take it as listed. If it is mentioned, then it is important. Good question, no? Right, in the audit paper, ethical case studies, if nothing was mentioned, take it as listed. If it is mentioned, then focus. Fine. Fine. See here, I'll share these answers with you all. Advertising campaign guaranteed that would only allocate staff experience. The firm is small, limited staff available, right? So this could seen a fundamental principle of integrity, right? So again, the firm is approach competitor to act as the auditor. This means they would acting competing clients. This result breach of confidentiality, right? Add one more important point here that you should mention: conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. At the same time, when you are accepting competing clients, you need to apply sufficient safeguards to reduce that dependency. It's very important. Fine. So confidentiality problem is also there. Conflict of interest is also there. Okay. So I comparing with ethical risk, how you feel ethical threats? How you feel ethical threats? Comfortable? Comparing with ethical risk, how you feel ethical threats? Comfortable? Which verb is easy for you all students? Ethical risk or ethical threat? Which verb is easy? Ethical threat or ethical risk? Don't try to write answers now. I'll share the answer scheme with you all. Fine. Can't waste our time to type answers. Ethical threat or ethical risk? Which verb is comfortable for you? Sir, can you explain conflict of interest? How it's a threat? Ethical threat is obviously comfortable for you all. Right. I'll explain conflict of interest. Conflict of interest, since you all ask. See here. Conflict of interest will create, there's a high chance of self-interest. Okay, see, it will create an ethical issue, that ethical threat. Accepting competing clients. When you accept competing clients, for example, client 1 is also bank, client 2 also bank. Client 1 is already our audit client. Client 2, bank is requesting to accept them as a client. Is it prohibited? No. It is a threat, but you can reduce that threat to acceptable level. Right? What are the safeguards? The safeguard is inform charge with governance of client 1. Use separate engagement team. Separate documentation should be maintained. Confidentiality agreement should sign between firm and the team members. In your answer, only this point is given. In your answer, only this point is given. See, confidentiality agreement should be implemented. It's a safeguard of what? Exactly, it's a safeguard of what? Conflict of interest. Perform engagement quality control review. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is your doubt clear? Nimesha? Rushda, is it a doubt clear? You want just take a screenshot of this. Right. Okay. Students, what we discussed today, is it useful? So I hope what I discussed today, is it useful? TRG, all the past paper questions I covered. Summary is this. Now it's your duty to practice. Right. Now it's your duty to practice. This is the framework. This slide is the framework. Right. So your study plan hereafter, practice ethical threats, practice ethical risk. It's up to you. Okay. So today is the first day. So I without a break, I'm doing 2 hours. Right. Next week, the second TRG, I forget to mention that. TRG 1 is ethics. TRG 2 is risk. TRG 3 is test of control. TRG 4 is substantive procedures and reporting. That is the arrangement. Okay. Important topics I'll discuss in the class. So this slide is important because this is what? Testable, examinable. If you are comfortable with this, that's fine. Ethical issues, 2016 past paper, 2013 past paper, please go through. Ethical threats, the rest. If you need case study examples, talk to me, I'll tell you, right? So these slides I just did in the class of Maldives, right? So all these examples are important. The case study examples from the past papers, right? So try to prepare this table. What is a safeguard, right? Likewise, if you prepare all the case study examples, right, make it very simple and comfortable, then these are the things going to be tested in the threats question. Okay. So as a summary, students, ethics and acceptance, please study ISA 210. That is also can be tested in the ethical issue questions. Okay. Any other questions? Students, any other questions? Students, any other questions? So some doubts related to other parts of audit. Rushda, you from Sri Lanka or any other country? Sri Lankan. Okay, fine, no worries. Okay, no worries, fine. You can talk to me, no problem. Right, I'll explain the balance part also. So next week we'll meet with the TRG2. The topic is risk, very important topic. Right, with that point, I'll stop for the day. Thank you very much. Good night. Slides, if you want, I can share, no problem.